Welcome everybody to a slightly different Joy of Gratitude. I'm here today in the wonderful, beautiful Jerusalem forest. You can have a look over there and over there and look at the beautiful cloud formation above. This week's Joy of Gratitude has been sponsored as a merit for a refuah shalema, for a complete recovery for Rachel Nomi Bas Esther Chana and her newborn baby, who are both in critical condition because of corona. Why am I here in nature? The answer, as you probably have guessed, is that tonight is Tu BShvat. Tu BShvat is the New Year for trees. The New Year for trees, it's been turned into some sort of festival, like it's the birthday of the trees. What does it mean, birthday of the trees or New Year of the trees? And what are we supposed to learn from this particular day? So let's first of all talk about what Tu BShvat is in halacha, in Jewish law. Tu BShvat is the day where the new year starts for fruit of the trees. Any fruit that begin to develop after Tu BShvat are considered of the new year, and any fruit that develop before Tu BShvat are considered part of the old year. And that has certain halachic ramifications with regards to tithes and other presents that were brought to the temple or given to the priests. What's that got to do with me? What's that got to do with us? The answer is hidden in the reason why the New Year for trees is a few months after our New Year. And that is that the reason why fruit that develop before Tu BShvat are considered of the previous year is because that fruit developed from sap in the tree that came from rain of the previous year, meaning before our Rosh Hashanah. And any fruit that developed after Tu BShvat, they came from sap that developed in the tree from rain that came after our Rosh Hashanah. So the fruit that developed after Tu BShvat came from rain that fell in Tishrei, maybe the end of Tishrei, in the month of Cheshvan. Slowly that water has come into the ground, been sucked up by the roots. The tree develops sap from that, and eventually it becomes fruit. And the message here, the message of this particular festival, this particular day, is that we have a winter, a long winter. It may be cold, it may snow, it may be dark, it may look as if the trees have died. Everything has fallen off the trees. It looks as if nothing is developed. Nothing is going to develop. But even though you can't see it, there is something going on. That rain that is falling is sort of being sucked up into the earth, drawn up through the roots. And even though you can't see it, even though it looks as if everything is dead, there is a tremendous amount of life that is just waiting in potential to sprout. That's all going on. It's all developing, even though you can't see it. And Tu BShvat is just the beginning where you may just begin to get an inkling that something is about to develop. You may see some flowers just beginning to sprout. The almond tree is one of the earliest of flowers. Tu BShvat's a little bit early this year, but if Tu BShvat falls in February, the almond tree is already beginning to flower at that time. There's just the beginnings of evidence that, while I thought that everything was dead and nothing was going right, really lots of things were going on that I didn't even realize. Let me give you an example. Imagine the feeling of Yocheved, the mother of Moshe Rabbeinu. She has to put Moshe into this little basket because otherwise he's going to be captured by the Egyptians and killed. And then, who finds this baby? The daughter of Pharaoh. And he's taken to the palace, and yes, Miriam manages to get Yocheved to be the nursemaid, as it were. But after the age of 2, Moshe leaves the family and he grows up in the royal house. Can you imagine how Yocheved would have been feeling? Yes, her son is alive, but he's in the enemy's home. How painful is that? And yet, when we look at history, when we look at the story from a hindsight perspective, as Ibn Ezra explains, Moshe Rabbeinu needed to grow up in the house of royalty so that he could understand what it means to be a leader, so that when the time came, he himself could go out there and fight the battle, stand up face to face against the king of the superpower and not blink. When you look back at history, sometimes those darkest moments turn out to be essential and real gifts. And therefore, the festival of Tu BShvat is a time to be able to realize that sometimes dark times are things to be thankful for. Now, there are many times in life where the pain is too difficult to be able to see the goodness in the moment. But if you speak to many people who've been through different challenging times, many people will tell you the amount of goodness and greatness that came out of those times. It's not for us to tell people what goodness they should be finding in their pain and suffering, but speak to people. Speak to people about how they developed, what they understood. I know for myself, the most challenging time that I went through in my life, I look back at that time and I know for sure that it developed me and helped me become a much bigger person and a much better person than I ever would have done without that challenge. My brother-in-law recently introduced me to a wonderful WhatsApp group. They have a website as well. It's called Thank You Hashem. And essentially, this particular website or WhatsApp group, people write in constantly thank yous to Hashem. Really wonderful thing. And what's interesting is that people are using this particular WhatsApp group to say thank you when things are going wrong. Somebody isn't getting the parnasa, the money that they need for whatever it happens to be, or things aren't going right medically, or whatever it happens to be. And instead of complaining, they're sending in messages saying, thank you Hashem for all those times when I did have the money, and I did have the health, and I trust you Hashem. I trust you because you've shown me again and again and again, with every previous breath and with every other gift that you've given me, that you are there for me. And therefore, just like I'm thanking you for the past, I'm thanking you for right now, this challenge right now, and I will thank you again when I realize why this challenge was necessary. Now, of course, I'm talking about a very high ideal. A very high ideal. But this is the message of Tu BShvat. It may have been dark. It may have looked as if everything was dark. But during that darkness, during that coldness, things were developing secretly that were essential and will flower in the future. So have a wonderful Tu BShvat. Goodbye from me and from my wonderful daughter over here, who has accompanied me to the forest. Say hi. And from 2 others up there. And I'll see you all next week. Keep well.